Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to the world abroad. Welcome to the Optimistic M. I'm your host, Michaud, and today I'd like to talk about the good, the bad, and the best regarding roommates. Seeking cohesion, as it were. So basically, I'm taking a very small snippet from my original roommates video and basically kind of breaking that down a little bit. So this is going to be a much shorter video than the original experience, but also it's a third part of its own because I talk about some new things regarding roommates. So this is kind of like a vlog in a sense, but it's also a learning tool as well. So let's get to it. So the good. Of all the roommates I've had, and I've had many, there's the good, such as making friends. And with those friends, you can do things together. Well-behaved pets. For the most part, I don't mind pets. I just do mind that they're messy. And I'm going to get to that. So the bad. I haven't really had any bad roommates per se, but I have had situations that were bad. I take that back. I have actually had not really a bad roommate, but so here's my story. So I had this roommate. I was actually looking for a roommate on Craigslist and Facebook. I didn't know the guy, but he did go to my university when I was going to school still. And we met. Seemed like a cool guy. He answered the ad on Facebook, messaged me a few times. We messaged back and forth, and he seemed like a cool guy. He agreed on the terms we had talked about as far as the payments, stuff like that. And what ended up happening was he was kind of in between places. He still was at his old place, and basically he would get off late, so we would never see him. And he didn't really have a good source of transportation. He took the bus, which isn't a problem. I don't mind if people take the bus or a bike or whatever. But anyway, so the issue was he basically told me that, oh, he didn't like the place. And at the time, we had somewhat of a pest problem. And I told him, hey, we have a little bit of, bug problem here and there. And he was okay. But for some reason, like some of his stuff, I don't know if it was his clothes or his bags or he spent nights out drinking and puking, but some of his stuff actually smelled like barf and it was disgusting. And I smelled it like through the room. I was like, that was one of my turnoffs for this guy. Moving on, it was like, for one, when the older roommates moved out, whatever leftover pests that we did have, they seemed to migrate to places they weren't before. So that was an issue. It wasn't a huge issue, but it was an issue, and everybody knew about it. And we eventually dealt with it over time. We don't have any more. So anyways, this guy, with his stuff, it smelled like barf. The pests migrated towards it. So they like that smell for that reason. He moved out because, he couldn't deal with the bugs. And I didn't want to say anything. I really didn't want to. The lesson learned on that is basically the guy, without notice, actually, he didn't even give me a 24-hour notice. As far as the contract goes, he didn't even pay like full rent. So I charged him, for the days of here. And I wasn't even in charge of that, but so the landlord basically gave us a chance because this guy kind of just skipped out and he didn't want to pay for the rest of the day. I learned a few lessons in this, and this is something I'll go over in my next video. But yeah, it was bad. So he moved out and he was like, I gotta go, man. I can't. He moved, like, I don't know, he went somewhere. He had to go somewhere because of some reason out of state. He came back and he was like, I gotta go because of the bugs. I can't, it's the bug problem. And the thing is, they wouldn't have that problem, but his stuff smelled like crap. I mean, it was just like, it was bad. And I didn't know what to say to that. So I was like, whatever, man. He was kind of flaky. And I've dealt with flakiness before, but never like this. And like I said, I learned a lesson from this. Moving on, so that was probably the worst situation I've ever been in with a roommate. The smell. Like I said, I don't know if he drank a lot and just threw up, but it was a smell, not just on his stuff, but on his clothes. Disgusting. It was like, anyways, moving on. That was probably the worst situation. So my other experiences with the bad was loud parties. For the most part, I don't mind parties as long as they stay at a certain level and as long as I know ahead of time that there's going to be a party. Proper consideration is the most important thing in a relationship such as housemates, roommates. Tell people ahead of time, hey, having a party, have some people over. And actually recently we had a social gathering and there was a few people and I was actually invited and I didn't mind. It was cool. We had some pizza. We were watching a video of my current roommate's presentation. She had performed. It was awesome. But anyways, the point being, she told us ahead of time that she was going to do it and invited everybody. That was cool. Moving on. So basically going back to the first bad experience I had with roommates is messy roommates. In my original video, I talked about a roommate. We're great friends now, but he was a messy dude. And we were actually sharing rooms, which is another not so good situation because I'm never gonna go back to that, by the way, unless it's a hostel or something. Never again sharing rooms with a roommate. It was cheap. Hey, it was cheap, and at the time, I was working security, and you only make so much money, right, in Waikiki. But anyways, so extremely messy, and it was a major turn off. Next, so untrained and unbehaved, is that even a word? Unbehaved pets, big turn off. So my original video, I talked about one of my roommates that had this dog. Cool dog, but it ended up barfing all over the place, just throwing up. It was an issue, but he eventually got it fixed when he took it to the vet. I don't know. I don't know actually what happened. Some kind of bacteria or something. But anyways, the biggest thing was that it was untrained, so it would pee all over the place, and it would poop sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. And then the very worst, was when it got fleas, and the fleas were all over the place. I don't know. Anyways, eventually that got taken care of over time, but it was just a major issue. I didn't know how to confront the issue at the time, but getting older and getting mature, I know more so how to confront these matters. So the best. This is my favorite part of this video because this actually inspired me to make this video. I had an epiphany the other day when I went out with some of my roommates. Actually, I went out with the one roommate. The other roommates didn't want to come. But anyways, that's another story. So we went out to the Dragon Upstairs. The Dragon Upstairs is a jazz place, like predominantly a jazz place, but they perform like blues. It's live music, and my roommate, again, we had the social, but the social moved out of the house into this place, the Dragon Upstairs. Awesome show, by the way. Her boyfriend was one of the performers. He was on drums, and it was a whole experience. First of all, I had never been to the Dragon Upstairs before. It was my first time being there, and just the whole experience of being out with everybody. And then I was thinking back to the first time that I invited my roommates out to this place. And that was solely just to get to know each other because it was the first time we'd had actually been together and been out drinking or whatever. I remember that and I was thinking to myself, wow, it does make a difference. The person that you find, the person that, or persons that you look for, or the things you look for in a roommate, that really does matter. That's the whole point why I bring up cohesion. Cohesion isn't always something that's there because we're human beings. We each have our own things that we like, love, or dislike. Like I sometimes don't like the way my roommate puts the toilet paper, puts it, on the reverse way. Anyways, just little things, but that's nothing compared to, say, bigger issues, bigger situations, like getting along, for example. Then that's a wholly different ball game, and we've had to go through some things like that. And I was thinking, just wow, those things are what really create lasting relationships over time. And I'm not saying you have to be best friends with your roommates, but it definitely does help if you have some things in common. And like all roommates, I haven't always had things in common, just things that some things were in common. And we didn't always see eye to eye on everything, and you won't. You just will not agree on everything, and that comes with being human, meeting other people, becoming friends, or whatever. That's just something you have to live with. That's life. But yeah, I was thinking, it was like, if I had chosen somebody else, would the result be the same? Or would it be similar? Or would it be totally different? Of course, because we all do different things. If my roommate wasn't, if she didn't have the performance, we would have never had that gathering. We would have never gone to Dragon upstairs, but I would have met somebody totally different. It's like meeting friends, basically, if you really think about it. You meet new people, and then next thing you know, you're climbing Mount Everest. I mean, you just never know who you're gonna meet, and it's based on a lot of factors. It's different variables. It could happen in any number of ways. And I was just thinking, this is so cool. The whole experience, making memories, making new friends that'll last forever. Now, all roommates you won't have this experience with all the roommates you have. This is the same with me. I'm not best friends with all my roommates. We may hang out, we may be acquaintances at most, but I think the best is when you can actually see eye to eye, when you do agree and have a lot of common things with your roommates so that you do become friends and you're not just acquaintances. I think that's the best way to see cohesion. It's not always an option. It's not always an option, but it is, I believe, one of the best ways, I think, you can seek true cohesion. Even if you don't always agree, even if you don't always get along, it is there. And definitely with that, you can gain some new perspective on life and learn more about yourself than you ever would going with somebody else. So I will totally believe that you can truly, by choosing your friends or choosing people you hang around, as well as housemates and roommates, that you can find a better understanding about yourself and others. And this is just my most recent. I've had other roommates even in Australia where he's given me this great idea where now I can go forth in my life and be like, well, maybe it'll work for me. This is a great idea. So just something to think about. And trust me, there are times when I've had to confront others regarding, say, food, for example, that went missing. You're going to have those moments. You're going to have the play the mediator. But it doesn't mean that life is over. It doesn't mean that you stop being friends. It just means that, hey, you're kind of crapping my style. Can you please reconsider what you do next time? And that's it. That's all I really wanted to share with you. I just thought it was great. And before I leave, there is one way that actually I got an idea from this website. I have to remember what the website is. I'm gonna bring this up in my new video, but I want to show you something. It's basically a survey that I created that basically weeds out people, say, on Craigslist that are looking for a room. I believe it'll be one of the greatest tools you'll have in searching for your next roommate. So as I stated before, I found this ideal to create the survey on a website that I can't remember at the moment. But it's basically to weed out a lot of people that are looking for rooms, and it will basically hone in closer to what you're looking for as well as what they're looking for, because again, cohesion is very important when it comes to sharing your house or apartment. So anyways, I hope this helps. I hope this whole video helps you out. Thank you for coming, by the way. As always, I appreciate my followers, subscribers, and anyone that tunes in that are just curious about me and my life and wanting to learn more about theirs or whatever. But anyways, like and subscribe if you like what you see here. And if you think this will be beneficial for anybody else, please by all means share. And again, thanks for coming to the Optimistic M. Stay tuned to my next video that's going to be coming out. I am in the process of working on new videos as of right now. Regarding my roommate series, it's a work in progress. So there's going to be more coming. So stay tuned for those. Anyways, thanks for coming, everyone. Cheers. There we go. I got it. I got it back in. Look, I know we haven't always been the best as roommates or even friends sometimes, but I think the most important part is that we do get along. And I'd like to just take a moment to thank all the roommates I've had over time that have been good and the best, and we've shared so many moments together that it's crazy. And we can look back on it and laugh at all the crazy things or the bad things that have gone down or not so good things. But the most important part is that we're still friends today, and I think that's awesome, because in the long run, it's all about making memories and sharing moments together. It's not the little things that, oh man, why did you put the toilet paper that way kind of thing, but yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, it's enriched my life to actually have roommates. Some people may not want roommates or care about having roommates, but I think for the most part, it's enriched my life for the better. And thanks for the times that we have shared and that I've become a better person because of it.